Hello and welcome to today's episode of Critical Minds. And on this program, we talk about critical things that are happening in the country and around the world. But today we are focusing majorly on Nigeria. And the topic for today is democracy and the African culture. I know when you hear the word democracy, what comes to mind? You know, we often hear government of the people, for the people, and by the people, right? But I wouldn't be doing this alone. I have with me in the studio Mr. Jude Ose. He is a democracy trade and development advocate. So welcome. So Mr. Jude Ose is the founder of Youth Initiative for Progressive, that's YIP Africa, YIP Africa, an advocacy group for democracy, development and trade. And also he is consolidating to ensure that public policy design, implementation, and financing are people-centered, driving industries, innovation, and infrastructure for nation building. What an impressive bio there, sir. So welcome once again on set.
Thank you.
So would you say now that I think we have about 300 and something members of the House of Senate, is it House of Assembly now?
Yeah, right.
Yes. So would you say that those people, some of those people now should be the Obas, the Sultans, and then these monarchs in their states that should be actually holding those seats so that they can actually bring these problems or pains that the people are feeling to the government?
No, we can't do that because we'll be mixing the responsibilities of the traditional rulers and the legislatures, right? Now, for traditional rulers, we can recreate a parliamentary system for traditional rulers and have them at that traditional level, you know, stimulate conversations as to what the grassroots and the people and propose policies on what we can do and how to do them. Do you know, let me shock you, do you know that if you go to different communities, either in Lagos State, your village, your state, you're going to find places they call town halls?
Sure. Yes, exactly. I've been to some town hall meetings and...
Now, those were created for purposes like this. But over time, it has been neglected.
Okay.
And only being used for stomach infrastructure distributions.
Okay.
And conversations around developments are not held there. How do we distribute one or two stomach infrastructure? Is
Palliatives.
the conversation palliatives is what we are, the conversations we are having in those places.
I would like to ask you on the stance of freedom of expression in the country. They say even in Freetown, nothing is free, right? So how can the democratic principles safeguard freedom of expression? Because of course there are democratic principles in place. I can't start going through all of them right now because there are a lot. There are quite a few of them. I would say, how can these principles safeguard the freedom of expression while respecting cultural sensitivities and traditional values?
So I will always say that culture is strategy for breakfast, okay? No matter how beautiful the idea is or the freedoms you have, our culture will eat it for breakfast. What do I mean? When you say you have freedom of speech, somebody once told me that you have freedom of speech, but freedom is not guaranteed after speech.
Right. Okay.
You know, so why? Because we still practice a culture in Africa where we are, by we now, young people are boxed into respecting the elderly ones.
Okay.
You must give respect to whom respect is due, even with their shortcomings, even with their autocracy, even with the, seemingly not too good approach to problem solving, to developmental issues, when you bring it to governance now. Because he's an elderly man, as a young person, you don't count. So therefore, we will discipline you and you don't have any right to question it. But they've forgotten that as an elective official in democracy, which is government of the people, for the people, and by the people, you don't have those luxuries anymore. It's a democracy. People should have the right to aspire to lead. At the end of the day, it's not about how attractive the incentives are being a political leader, but it should be more on the dividends of your leadership, your representatives. Are you representing your people to the best of your ability? Are you representing their interest to the best of your ability? Are you implementing policies within your constituents to the best of your ability? Are you putting forward their concerns as part of the policy frameworks that is being either formulated within the committees you are being part of at either federal level or state level? Are the people's interest at the forefront of your representation? So if that is a no, then sorry,
you shouldn't
be there. We have people whose job largely aligns with the interests of the people, and they would like to go forth and represent the people. It's not about an individual at this point. It's the people. If you know you can't do that for the people, please take a back seat. Allow somebody else do the job. So we are still practicing democracy. I will allow people to run if they want to.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jude. So right now we will be going on a short break, and then when we get back, we would wrap things up, and then we would come to a conclusion of what we really think is democracy and it's played its role in the African culture. Don't go anywhere. This is still Critical Minds. We will be right back. All right, welcome back. This is still the Critical Minds, and we are still in the studio with Mr. Jude Osei, and of course, I am still Musa Christopher. So, in rounding up, Mr. Jude, what would be your advice? What would be your key takeaways for in terms of democracy and the African culture?
So, I would like to say that leaders should begin to listen to young people. Let them shun the entire African culture around respect and the segregation of just because you are young, you cannot contribute to either family conversations or family meetings to nation building. Therefore, as a young person, you have a right, you have a voice to contribute, and they must now ensure that they listen and either adopt or implement some of the suggestions that young people are able to present. If Pharaoh did not listen to Joseph, his kingdom would have crumbled even prior before it was. When Pharaoh was having dreams about how the famine, the stories around that, it took Joseph to interpret the dream and make Pharaoh plan for the future. In Nigeria that we are right now, it will take a young person to make recommendations to the leaders, and it's their duty to not allow culture restrict them from listening to these young people who have brighter ideas for the development of Nigeria.
I think beyond just culture now, there is this age disparity also that they would actually look at. They will tell you, what do you know?
That's the culture.
Okay, so very quickly, I just want to say thank you for being with us in the studio, and to everyone out there, like you have heard, it now behoves on us, the youths, or the youths of the country, or the youths of the nation, actually, to go further in participating in things that concern the nation, in going for offices, in vying for positions that you know that, okay, strategically positioning yourself would bring about a greater participation, not just for you, but for even people that are currently on seats, so as for them to listen more and take more advice. So right about now, we would be going into the streets of Lagos. We will be going into the streets to ask a few questions from well-meaning Nigerians on this particular topic that we have discussed here in the studio. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
We are supposed to practice democracy in Nigeria, right? And there's freedom of speech. But for them to wake up one morning and tell us if you spy Tinubu on air or spy Tinubu, you are going to go 3 years jail terms or whatever. Personally, I don't think that is democracy anymore. So with that thing alone, that's really killed the factor of democracy. As long as I am concerned, I think it has killed democracy for me. I don't know.
Democracy in Nigeria? What we pass in Nigeria is not democracy, my brother. Because to me, the last election was a fraudulent election, and democracy should be the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So who voted this government in? Who are those people that voted in it? So to me, because I didn't vote for the present government or the present president. So to me, it's not the full representation of the people. So there is no democracy in Nigeria. As far as I am concerned, it's my personal opinion. There's no democracy in Nigeria.
You and I know democracy is not being practiced in Nigeria. No, it's not at all, because if democracy is being practiced in Nigeria, we will not be where we are today. A government where you don't listen to the people, you don't listen to the voice of the people, even in terms of economy, it's not working. You understand? Well, I would say absolute no. We are not practicing democracy in Nigeria as a whole.
The democracy that we used to know is supposed to be the government of the people, for the people and by the people. But this question you're asking me, with the current situation, with the Tinubu is dealing with all of us, are you still asking me what kind of government we are practicing? It's like hunger never do you. Hunger will not finish you complete. See, this Nigeria, we just pray for help of God. If not, Nigeria don't finish. Nothing they work. See, dollars don't they go to 5,000 naira now, and they ask me which kind of government when the people don't even have a say. How many times our vote they even count? I don't even get tired to the vote. But next time.
We are not really practicing it. Reason because we have laws that are written down, but to a large extent, those laws are not really practiced. If those laws are practiced, the state of the nation as it is currently will not be this way. So, and yeah, we know that globally, every democracy have their own issues. Every nation have their own issues they're handling. But it shouldn't be in an instance whereby the common man cannot really enjoy the good of life. That means we are not really practicing democracy.
Traditional rulers. In the past, we used to have traditional rulers. Before you become a traditional ruler, you must go through lots of process. But these days, the governor and the governor can appoint a king. So most times, to me, the traditional rulers of today they are just appointees from the government. So the people, the main people are not, there's no respect for the traditional rulers anymore. So they have nothing to say about this and they have nothing to do about this because the people are not even referred to them as they used to respect them in this past.
Going forward, we are not ready to listen to any traditional ruler anymore. Our eyes are open now. We know the truth now. You understand? So it's not as business as usual. And I believe by God's grace, God is going to help us. We are going to pass through this region. And few years from now, as in, we will be free, voting for the right person.
All right, welcome back. I believe we have heard what some well-meaning Nigerians have for us, what their advices, their opinions, their own 2 cents, as the case may be, as regards the current state of the country, and then the topic we have discussed here in the studio. And we strongly believe that Mr. President would get these advices, and of course, like we said, not looking at the tradition or culture, implement these things that he has heard to the benefits of Nigerians and Nigeria at large. Thank you so much, Mr. Jude, for joining us once again. Thank you, Nigerians, for being behind your screen and, of course, watching us today. Come to the end of Critical Minds. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and, of course, Twitter, which is now X, and, of course, on YouTube. Click the link on the just below the screen to take you to the full version, so that you can watch this live, and also not live, although, but you'll get the full content as to what we have discussed right here in the studio. My name again remains Musa Christopher. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.